Hausa. So since Baby First today, I've started looking for people that can talk to us in Hausa, but we couldn't find one. But if we can get someone, maybe we can translate it anyway. So please, sir, our request is if we can have an audience with you. It's a 30-minute program in Kanu, maybe to have a pre-recorded session with you, sir. We will really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Suleiman. Regarding your request, we should be able to take care of that. What I would suggest is Chuchu or Aziza, they're all on this call. We can exchange numbers with you and take it offline and agree what next to do. Now, regarding campaign preparations, I'm not the DG of the campaign and I'm not a spokesman. So I don't want to run foul. I know that adequate preparations are being made. I know that rallies are being planned. And I know that we are likely going to cover more states in the north than south in the initial part of it. Eventually, we're going to cover the entire Nigeria. And I'm also excited with the quality of person we have in the running mate. Senator Dati. I believe that with him and the leadership and a few other people who are yet to make their support known, when they come fully on board, I am certain that the ground swell of support in the north will increase, will skyrocket. A lot of people that are well placed are actually obedient, but some of them feel it may be too early to make that known. And because who is not tired of how things are? Who doesn't want liberation? Who is not tired of ethnic and religious politics? And instead of doing things based on competency, merit, and what can work for Nigeria. So I think that we may be shocked positively by the quality of leadership that will come fully in support in due course. So please, I want to encourage all of you, sustain what you're doing, improve on it where possible, and wait and see. Just our principal will soon be fully on this. Clearly, in fact, part of the reason he wants to engage in these international tours so that because when campaign starts, he won't have any need to he will focus squarely on Nigeria. So it's good that he's doing it now, and he may even have 4 or 5 more stops to make before the campaign starts. And when that happens, I can tell you that the energy, the fire in him is so burning that we will cover a lot of states, especially states as important as Kano, will feel our presence. And like I say, with the partnership with Dati, I am certain we are going to go a long way to winning in these locations.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ozibo, for the answer. Okay, let's quickly go to Dr. Olu, then I'll come to Chinelo. Dr. Olu, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you very much for coming to space. My question is this. I noticed that I have not really been thinking about how Labour Party has been attacking, or let me say, evaluating the credibility of INEC. It has always been about what Peter Obi will do, how Peter Obi will do these things. As a party, it is very glaring that there are a lot of discrepancies, a lot of misplaced kind of appointment going on in INEC currently, which is very, very critical to me. Is even as critical as the electorate. So I don't know what is the plan or what are the things the party is doing in addressing such shortcomings before it becomes something grievous, because I have never seen a situation whereby the Labour Party chairmen have actually spoken vividly against what is going on, because it's very obvious that some of the appointees are card-carrying members of APC. That's me. I just want to know what is the plan. Secondly, if you look at the campaign, I'm from Osun State, very passionate. and having my own billboard personally erected in my state. And I think this cut across almost all the obedience, which are mostly driven by the youth. But to be sincere, sir, it is unfortunate that I cannot pinpoint that this is the youth leader. How credible is the youth leader of the Labour Party? I don't want to go back to some of the encounter we have between him in Twitter space, but I just want to know how he's not. Peter Obi cannot be everywhere. I know this movement is organic, but irrespective of the organic, the systems, the youth system, the youth department from the Labour Party, to me, we don't need. To me, I'm not expecting them to give me any morale to do what I'm doing, but at least there should be one or two things on flash from the youth wing of the party. So I want to know what is going on, or what are the system that is going on currently in that regard from the party. Those are my two questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
All right, so thank you. What I actually would rather do with your question is to take this feedback to the leadership of the party and follow up with them to make sure they act. One, how are they responding? If they have responded, they may need to do more when it comes to improper appointments by INEC, if that be the case. And the reason I say this is it is possible. I know a lot of people had raised concern about having carry members of APC in INEC as an umpire. It is totally unacceptable. And if our party is not doing enough, they need to do more. The same thing with the issue of the youths now. But I want to say this to you, two things on these 2 points you've made. Number one, please, sometimes it is actually, we're actually better placed as some cases, even non-card carrying members, or even who are card carrying members, floor members of the party, to shout to the rooftops. Because because these parties are engaging and liaising with INEC, on one hand, they demanded some favor information, so they don't usually have the ability sometimes to speak as frankly and honest. It depends on the personality involved. So what I'm saying is we can help them. We can raise the issues to the public. We can, by the time we inundate the public with the wrongs, but INEC will sit up. What I'm saying is it's also our responsibility. Don't wait on the party. Let's do what we need to do to check what INEC is doing. Let's get civil societies involved. Let's get people that INEC will listen to. When we inundate them with pressure, I believe they will kaput. And when it comes also the issue of the youth, the imperfection will always be there. I want to guarantee you that Labour will not do everything right. Even P2B will not do everything right. I tell people, please, don't look for what is wrong. Yes, we need these criticisms to improve, but we should do what we need to do in spite of the wrong that we see. What I'm saying, therefore, on one hand, we will work to see that we improve. On the other hand, please do not be discouraged, even if you don't see the kind of improvement that you expect, because we can't give any excuse for failing in this election. There is no room for excuse. So I want us to win, Labour Party or no Labour Party, youth leader or no youth leader. We're not working for them, we're working for ourselves. We're working for our future. It's our own generation we're fighting for. And when we understand that, we can make progress and move on in spite of the inadequacies that we see around us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ozibo. Okay, so the next speakers, please, I want us to center this topic on the tour, right? Because there's a lot of things that happen in that tour. So there will be time for other questions, but at this stage, please, let's the questions you're asking Mr. Ozibo be around, around the tour, the Diaspora tour. That's what we are discussing here tonight. On that note, but let me quickly bring Ms. Chinelo. Chinelo, good evening. Please, your question to Mr. Ozibo.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the mic mindset. Good evening, Mr. Ozibo, and good evening, everybody online. I want to ask two questions, but first of all, I want the guests to address an issue that arose from the tour, which has generated a lot of controversy on Twitter, on social media, especially on Twitter, and that has to do with the proposition of the candidates on monetary policy. A few days ago, we saw a tweet which I think was an offshoot of one of the sessions of the candidate when he was in the US, where he mentioned that he will pursue a contractionally monetary policy that is, of course, directly opposite to what the APC leadership is doing at the moment. And a lot of people have interpreted that to mean that he will interfere with the business of the Central Bank of Nigeria, being that the Central Bank of Nigeria, one of the objects of the bank is to ensure monetary and price stability in Nigeria. Ever since that criticism has been out there, I don't think I have seen any further statements or clarification from the candidates, and I don't think that's good for the campaign so far, because you are giving room for misinterpretation. And I'm happy to know that the guest today is a former banker. And therefore, my question to you, sir, is I would like you to throw more light on what the candidate means by that monetary policy, and reconcile how he is going to develop and pursue his monetary policy without crossing the lines that are not expected by the Establishment Act of the CBN. Considering further that if you look at Section 12 of the Act, it enables the bank to support the economic policy of the federal government by creating a committee that is called the Monetary Policy Committee. Now, can you, for clarity purposes, explain to us how the candidate intends to balance this monetary policy of his government within the lines of the independence of the bank, that is the CBN? Then secondly is an observation on what seems to have been ignored by the campaign. There is a narrative out there that during this whole tour, and even since the inception of the town halls and all what that's going on, that the candidate has been identifying the problems without preferring solutions. I don't think this is true, but the narrative is being pushed there, especially by the PDP. And I don't think the campaign has done anything to deny these allegations that are being made. And it is important because everybody knows the problems to Nigeria, the problems in Nigeria today, but not everybody has the solution. So they are trying to push the narrative that your candidate knows the problems, but their candidate has the answers to the problems. That's a kind of an observation. What is the campaign doing to ensure that this narrative doesn't stick in the minds of our people? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with the last. To be honest, P2B, brings to bear forth the problems of Nigeria, and he never leaves the podium without preferring some of the solutions. And his message is very clear. And what do you expect opponents to do? Agree with you totally without making an attempt to confuse the public? So that's what they're doing. And this is why I am happy that we have army of obedience, army of credible influencers that will always be there to counter the wrong narratives. Even just saying shifting from consumption to production, and this is how he intends to apply and what he intends to do, and focusing now on security and creating an enabling environment, empowering the private sector, making sure the SMEs are able to succeed. When it goes into some of those nitty-gritties, he is preferring solutions. So please, when they say he's not tell them 10 times over that he has provided us enough solutions. Of course, by the time he unveils his blueprint, a lot of these things will be in black and white. So please, I want us to, whether the campaign has reacted, again, I'm going to take this feedback. I'm taking notes on this to the campaign so that they know how to also respond promptly. I keep saying this because I don't want us to apportion blames when things go wrong. I'd rather we all take up the challenge. With the ones I personally can respond to, I do go ahead and respond to it. I remember somebody who put something on my on Facebook. I had to go and react to it because I wasn't waiting for campaign to do so, especially things that are clear and obvious. Now, when it comes to the monetary policy and the independence of CBN and the position of His Excellency, I have to say this to you. Sometimes we also speak from experience. Peter B understands that, number one, he does not know it all. And so what he does is to bring people who are experts in different fields, work together with them, and by grace of God, he would not know what to do. And number two, he knows the meaning to the latter of rule of law. So he's going to work in concert with the letters of the law and the full meaning of the law. So what that means is whatever his boundary is going to be when it comes to independence of CBN, he will respect that. When it comes to the type of policy he's advocating, there's always this interchange between macro and micro. And you find eventually that they all are interlinked. Macro issues affect the micro, no matter how you look at it. When we see that we are not producing, for instance, and there's not enough being exported, the CBN can meet for all they care. They can't control the value of the exchange rate. They can't fix it because at some point, the much you can do is keep printing, and there's a limit to what you can print without flouting the law. There's a limit to what they can use, printing of money to fund the budget. And look at the amount of excesses. And when you think about the fact that we have, like Peter B will tell you, in the first quarter of the year, you spent 1.3 trillion, and yet revenue received 1.3 trillion, whereas you spent over 4 trillion, more than 2 times, almost 3 times the amount. You see that we are just deferring the evil there. What it's trying to do is how to reverse these trends, how to make sure we increase our production, up our revenue by the production increase, and by so doing, increase the balance of trade, increase the amount of money we can earn in FX, and by so doing, stabilize the naira, and also by so doing, manage the inflation rate. And by so doing, it will see that whatever CBN is not doing by way of monetary policy will stick, will make more sense because there's a base for it. When the fundamental is wrong, chances are that we're going to be moving in circles. So this is the much I can say. I haven't actually had a deliberate discussion with Peter B on this, but I can tell you for free that he will respect the independence of central bank, and he will also make sure that the right people are in CBN to do the right things. Of course, within the whenever the need for addition and changes are to be made in central bank and other key parastatals of government, we have to make sure our fundamentals make sense. It is so important. If you look at what CBN is doing now, they're everywhere. They are funding agriculture, they are funding in cinema, they're funding, and that's not the way to improve Nigeria's circumstance. We have got to make sure that the private sector leads in a lot of these things. And P2B is saying that he recognizes the value of private sector, especially the SMEs, and will empower, encourage, and provide enabling environments for them to thrive. And when they do, Nigeria's situation will improve, and our key parastatals can now do their work better. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let's quickly go, because of time, let's try and keep our questions into one. And let's quickly go to Muhammad Yahaya. Muhammad, good evening. Please go ahead with your question. Mohammed, are you there? All right. So, Mohammed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Valentine. Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
I salute you, my brother.
I'm representing the Northern Coalition for Peter Obi.
Okay.
I have just two questions for you. Even though I've listened to several conversations on this platform and I'm okay with most of your response, we are moving towards the same direction. My first question is, Mr. Val, how do you think you will carry the entire 19 northern states along without keeping any of them, like without placing more priority to one over another, maybe based on maybe this person, the social support groups from this state and that state? That is one. Then number two, looking at the campaign time that's fast approaching, barely let's say 2 weeks or so. Now, how do you intend to meet up with most of the strategies that have been put on ground by the support groups, several support groups, especially in the northern Nigeria? We quite all right that we have been stranded. We have a lot of strategies to win election, but we have been stranded financially down, But our opposition have started implementing most of our strategies they stole on our various spaces we've been hosting for over 2 months. So how do we intend to synergize this? Thank you so much. You are welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, on the last point you're making, I wouldn't know what these strategies are and which ones have been stolen and which ones need to be funded. I think it requires further conversation besides this Twitter space discussion. We will need to know. But one thing for sure is when the full gamut of the campaign council is inaugurated, there will be people responsible for different areas. There will be, now that the DG of the campaign is from the south, of course, the deputy DG is going to come from the north, and his responsibility will be to cover the strategies, implement the strategies in the 19 northern states. And so be rest assured there will be what I can call laser focused attention in those areas. And about how to carry every part of Nigeria along, the only way you can do that is by being fair and equitable. And the good news is, if you also listen to what Peter B has been saying, his focus on agriculture is enormous. His ability to grasp what we need to do and change a lot of these, amazing, God-given, land space into oil of the northern Nigeria is what he's been preaching. And I can tell you that the moment we're able to also solve the security question and then begin to now empower farmers and put together the processing facilities that will transform, move through the value chain in agriculture and other areas, not just agriculture. I'm using this as an example to show what is possible. I can bet this prosperity will come back in the northern parts of Nigeria. And the same way, when we're able to stop this stealing of our mineral resources, golds and mines and all those, and able to deploy them, and it begins to work for common man. And I can tell you, prosperity will come back. The moment you empower the private sector in small businesses and provided with capital and they have the right environment, prosperity will come back. And so it's going to happen across Nigeria. It doesn't matter whether you're in south or you're in north. So I think that we have a lot that can be done and to change our circumstance. And again, by the time we see the policy initiatives, when they're clearly written, I'm sure you'll be more than satisfied. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Because of time, so we're going to limit the questions to one question. Let's quickly go with Jerry. Good evening, Jerry. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Nice to be on this space. Greetings to Mr. Ozigbo. It's nice to meet you. I watched your interview with Charles Sanyogolu on Arise the day that you moved over to LP. So we're very happy to welcome you, and also wanted to find out first of all what part of your structures are you going to bring over to support LP. It's a multifaceted question, but I'll try and stick to the topic about the tour in the diaspora. Obviously, Mr. P2B has tweeted and made lots of statements about the brain drain being converted into brain gain. So want to find out what is his plan to start to reverse this trend. I know even members of my family that have even left this year from Nigeria to work in different parts of the world. So we need to reverse this trend, and I think it's important to deploy our resources. And the other issue I was going to raise is there are problems within. I'll say the movement. Most of the initiative is being drawn up by the support groups. Now we are more proactive than the actual Labour Party members, as we have noticed. So how are we able to integrate the support groups into the Labour Party so that we can be working on behalf of the Labour Party and be, canvassing the length and breadth of the nation to spread the good news and to campaign? I think that's my submission. And I'll leave with just one recommendation is how can we get across to our principal, His Excellency, Mr. P2B, about the campaign strategy as we've seen globally, where you campaign more in areas where you're not popular and less in areas of your stronghold. So my prescription is about 60% north, 40% south, which is, that's my prescription. So these are my questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate your questions and your recommendation. When it comes to issue of brain drain, the point that P2B is actually making is extremely valid. He's saying we shouldn't see this as a problem. The problem we've faced is because Nigeria hasn't catered for Nigerians. Nigeria has become a home that even the citizens would not wish to live in. And I've not been able to recognize the importance of skill and talent, where you struggle to even earn minimum wage. You don't even have a job at all. Meanwhile, if you cross over the border legitimately, you are well appreciated and rewarded. And so what we need to do, number one, create a fantastic environment where those who have gone out there already can now actually come back and invest in the country. And number two, come on, if the world is looking for doctors, and what we need, for instance, is 200,000 doctors in Nigeria or 1 million doctors, let's produce 2 million doctors and ship half of that to the world so that they can also go back there, earn legitimately, and come back and keep supporting. So what we are looking for, number one, invest in our human capacity. Let Nigerians be known to be the best, both in Nigeria, create the environment where they can thrive and where they are valued and appreciated. So if your brother is hoping to travel to Canada, anyway, wish him, bid him good luck. Tell him anyway that don't worry, when P2B comes in, that Nigeria is going to change. That he might start comparing, is it better for me to live in Canada or better to live in Nigeria? Once Nigeria becomes a country we can all be proud of, some of them on their own volition will come back. And I say this mindful of the fact that some of the skills may not be equally valued and appreciated at the same time. If, for instance, doctors start to gain their ground in Nigeria and nurses, maybe the IT technologies can follow suit. By the time we keep improving the circumstance, the ones that feel home and they can, because they can tell you one of the messages that became clear, that even these people, even when they are successful in those countries, they are still visitors. They are still strangers in those countries. There's nothing like home. They are all eager to come home. So my point therefore is, we can convert what we think mentally as a drain to a gain. Let's deploy the resources they have and their talent in improving our circumstance, and let's give people the opportunity wherever they want to live. I can tell you, once home is fixed, they will come home on their own. And then regarding the support groups, usually in any campaign structure, there will be a directorate that will be managing support groups. And some of us, by virtue of the experience we've gathered in politics, will always be there to guide. But what we try to do is to make sure that we are able to let these support groups truly be support groups. I usually like to encourage where support groups are adding value. Some, you eventually will find that some of these people, when they come together as a group, they really are more interested in what they get out of the campaign rather than the value they want to add. But the good news is that we have a lot more people who are organically passionate and interested in success of this movement than otherwise. That's why they're investing their own personal resources, their money, their time, doing things, volunteering. And one thing that I can tell you, and I will conclude my response to your question with this. You know, they usually will say, Labour Party or P2B do not have a structure. And I tell them that if we organize ourselves, and not if now, when we organize ourselves well, which I know we will, our Labour Party may end up having better structure than PDP or APC. Because besides what our principal usually will say, what they have is a structure of criminality. You actually find that their structures are liabilities to themselves. If you pick any state now, I can mention it, I can tell you that different factions that exist in those places, if you appoint somebody a state coordinator for PDP or APC, and it's coming from this particular family, the other persons are already angry and they're going to work against, because they're so big and they are not driven by what I can call a latent common interest, rather by selfish interest. You see that they work across purpose. Part of the reason I was affected in my election in Anambra State, because I ran under PDP. Because we are about 20-something, 21 aspirants, and I beat them all to become candidates. Some of them never forgave me that I defeated them, and they did everything to make sure I fail. Imagine a PDP making sure PDP fails. That's how they would do to themselves. So you eventually find that they are going to be liabilities unto themselves. I'm not even talking about the big issue you hear from like Governor Wike and Atiku Abubakar or Tinubu and Amechi and Osinbajo. Those big issues are there. But even underneath them, they find irreconcilable differences that will eventually work to advantage. So what I'm here to also assure you guys is that we will end up having better structure than what the other parties have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ozibo. So because of time, so we've got to try as much as possible to limit the questions to one question. And let's quickly go to Archie. Archie, please go ahead.
All right. Hi, good evening, Mindset. Good evening, Mr. Valentine. Good evening, everybody on the space, NG. I know we're focused directly on the Peter B's Diaspora tour, but my question is a follow-up that. It's an election season and propaganda. Agenda will always agenda. It's just what it is. I am very concerned about our visibility on traditional media. I recognize the fact that we currently hold sway on social media, new media, and so it's our home base, but there is a need for us to find a way to be visible on traditional media, largely because of people like the Northerners who really subscribe to those mediums of information to get their own information. So my question is very simple. Mr. Valentino, I know you can't exactly speak for the campaign because you're not the campaign DG, but from the feelers you have on ground, please, is there any plan? Because I've asked before and they said, let campaign start, there will be a plan. Is there any plan for a real galvanized media team? The kinds of team that we expect to see very, very consistent content on every single media space, be it the channels of this world, the TVCs of this world. And right now we are finally seeing that the money is not exactly the problem, because donations are definitely going to come. So is there any plan? Because we have a lot of very outspoken people that we've noticed on new media, on spaces.
My brother, sorry, I'm cutting you. I can't agree less with you. I totally agree that we need to improve on that area. And some of us who have just joined the family will bring those values to bear. I can guarantee you that we will do whatever we need to do to enhance our visibility across all media platforms, traditionally, digitally, and otherwise.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ozibo. So we've actually got 30 minutes to round up the program tonight. Let me quickly go to Uche. Sorry, no, Uche, please. I apologize. Let's go to, I can't pronounce your name. VX. I think you know yourself, lead partner. Please go ahead with your question, sir.
Thank you, myself, for having me. And to our guest, Mr. Valentine, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Ntong. I am a Northern Obedient, specifically from Kaduna. I really want to stress a little bit on security, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to ask you to tell me how you intend to do it, but they say security matter is like a husband and wife discussion, so they don't air it out. But whatever is gonna take, sir, I need you guys to protect our candidate, Peter Obi. It's very important because there are a lot of intels going on that actually is not good. And I believe you understand what it means.
Yes, I do.
And we're about to enter into the campaign season itself properly. So I'm choosing my word carefully, sir. It's very important that Peter Obi is being protected. Especially they're gonna be entering north. These are the hot zones. So the follow-up of it again is not particularly, this is my question, sir, because in the north, you know, we have a culture of the government being doing most of the things for the people because the politicians have spoiled us. I'm telling you because these are the things I know. They have spoiled us, and it has rendered a lot of section of our people. An average northerner look at government as, you know, his own business that he can take and take and take, all because of the type of mindset that has been infused to an average northerner. So right now, the campaign is a little bit hard for some of us because they expect money, they expect everything to be handed to them free. And again, they are scared is because PDP and APC have somehow disabused their mind, saying if Peter Obi wins, everything is going to go to Southeast. So they don't believe that, you know, it's like power is being taken away from them totally. They do not believe that Peter Obi is about to, you know, hand over power to everybody. That let the system be working. So this one too, sir, you can find a way, but don't give us the entire gist because I scanned the whole room. I see that we have a lot of opposition here. They are also here to learn and implement a lot of things because that's what they've been doing. Because they took our ideas.
Apologies, Mr.
Thank you.
Apologies, Mr. Yes, I was going to say round up because we have about 17 requests. Go ahead, Mr. Val, please.
Oh, okay. I'm okay, sir. Thank you.
So thank you so much. You know, the interesting thing, well, on the issue of security, like you noted, the only thing I can say there is well noted. I know the need for emphasis, which is why you had to repeat this comment despite the fact that somebody else had done it. So thank you. I will again pass on the urgency and importance of the matter to the appropriate people. I responded earlier, we should expect more blackmail, more disinformation, more attempts by the other parties to change the narrative to suit them and against our interests. We should expect that. But we need to now do more. This is where we need to now enlighten our people. You know, I usually say to people, politics of ethnicity is over. It never has helped us as a people. And in fact, let's even narrow it down. I usually would argue that even though Obasanjo was president, Ogun State is not the best state in Nigeria. Even though Goodluck Jonathan was the president, Bayelsa is not one of the places I want to visit if you ask me to choose. Even though Buhari is currently the president, I know what the people in Katsina are going through. So it is time for them to wake up from those shackles of you're from here, you're from there, and disabuse our mind as to the only thing that will make sense is what can help Nigerians. When things improve, when we start producing, when we start acting from what I call our competitive advantages, where the South will do what they're known for, the North will do what they're known for, the West will do. By the time we keep doing all this, our circumstance will improve. The value of things will come down. For instance, if you can buy rice instead of 30,000 a bag to 5,000, and now Naira makes sense, it will affect everybody positively, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, whether you're from North or from the South. So this is what we need to do to educate our people, that this government coming in is for everybody. Interest of everybody will be carried along. It's for the masses, not for the bourgeois. And masses don't have demarcation, whether you're from this or from there. If your roads are fixed, it's for everybody. If your economy is working and there's a job, it's for everybody. In fact, uplifting people, taking people out of poverty is the main agenda of this government that P2B intends to form. So we need to let them know. And of course, yes, the point you made that, because some of our people are already accustomed to handouts. And so if they suddenly see that this has ceased totally, they may feel the shock. And so I don't expect a complete seizure. I expect a transition. There's a way to manage people. Let them show them sign of what is possible. Tell them they need to add value in what they're doing, and also support them where they need support, because there are people who already are jobless. They have to leave before the job comes. And when the job comes, the job has to be meaningful. So how do we carry people? This is what we intend to devise, how to make sure we balance things. I don't believe in extremes. We're not going to jump from one extreme of frivolity and waste to extreme where people are starving. No. We will move things in such a way that prosperity will return and people will keep doing more. When they see that, yes, you're getting this handout from government, however, but this man who is working, who is doing this, is become richer, more prosperous. So handout is not the best thing. He will throw the handout by the side, start working. So that's what I think is going to happen. I feel that at the end of the day, we're looking for what will make Nigerians be proud of their country. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we've actually got 23 minutes to round up this conversation, and we have so many requests. So I will quickly go to Vivi. Vivi, please, if you can just quickly ask you, Mr. Val, your question, then we can go bring other speakers. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Valentine. We appreciate the warm ovation that you and PO's team gave us here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had the pleasure
Thank you.
Of Of course, I had the pleasure of speaking to him personally from the youth perspective. I don't know if you specifically remember my question, but it centered around Nigerian youth in the diaspora that specifically worked in the healthcare field. I work in healthcare technology.
Were you the one that gave me a written question?
I did. I absolutely
Okay,
did.
yeah,
You mentioned that.
I remember you now. I remember you. Go ahead.
It's a pleasure. So I really appreciated you all wanting to engage in those questions, and I wanted to further engage you. Mr. Peter Obi, when he answered the question, he spoke to the fact that he wishes to engage young people. He wants to, take into their mind and take into account how they would tackle the Nigerian healthcare system, young people who have studied abroad. And I want to further kind of go into that point, if you wouldn't mind. What do you believe his administration will do specifically in terms of making Nigeria look lucrative to those who are in the healthcare technology world and in the technology world in general? I was born and raised here in North Carolina, and I have seen the way healthcare has navigated and how it is constantly changing to the world of technology. So how do we as Nigerians, and how do we as Nigeria as a nation catch up to that ever-changing world in terms of healthcare specifically?
Well, I think there are several things that can be done, but I can limit my response to maybe 3 areas. One is let's have a system that works. The National Health Insurance Scheme needs to work that way, and needs to be put to proper use and proper implementation. And when that happens, because I believe in system, I believe in things that we will do to outlive any president. Not just you come, you do it right, you go, and then everything goes to nothing. So sustainability is important, and for anything to be sustainable, we have to think systems and not just a project. That's number one. Number 2 is to create an environment for investment. You find that a lot of what we're seeing out there is not what government has done. It's what private sector endowments, foundations have done. If you see this Methodist hospital, that's Mount Sinai, this and that, it is all not governments putting money to do that, but government created an enabling environment where easily these people can come with the initial infrastructure, invest in different tools, and of course in the technology. And when that is done, people now can put together the best medical sales and reverse the tourism that we all do, going abroad for treatments. And once that is done, it now goes to the issue of how you make sure you manage the skilled workers, making sure they are well remunerated. And in fact, even the taking care of the environment will take care of that. And technology has a big role to play. The ingenuity that we can unleash, especially from the younger ones, can go a long way. And there are a lot of partnerships that can happen. I don't want to reveal a lot of things, but some of the people we met on this trip are people who are extremely successful in that field, and they are looking for opportunity to come home and add their own quota. Some have even made attempts in the past. They were discouraged because of poor leadership we had. Imagine somebody who wants to invest $1 billion in this type of sector, and you're giving him conditions. You can't even just set a simple letter, a simple support. They can't get. It is all about leadership that are I don't know, messed up, basically. I think with the right leadership and with the right system and with the right environment, things will converge. I don't see why we can't have the best hospitals in Africa at a minimum. I don't see why. If anybody has any answer, tell me. There's no reason on earth. So I think that with the right leadership and the right support, these things will happen, especially coming from the younger ones.
Thank you kindly, sir. We appreciate your efforts.
All right. Thank you very much. So we have only 18 minutes. Mr. Aval, I know this session was only meant to be for 2 hours. Are you able to? Can we extend it for another 30 minutes? If not, we can round up in 18 minutes because we have a lot of requests for you.
Well, what I see is from what we're doing, if we see that some of the questions have become a repetition of what has already been asked, then there'll be no need to extend, but just keep going on.
All right, so thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So for those that will speak, sorry, somebody's mic is on. Can you kindly mute your mics? Thank you. So please, we don't want a repeat question. If your question has been asked already, please kindly leave as a speaker. So we want to center the conversation on the Diaspora tour. So if somebody have asked the same question that you wanted to repeat, we don't want to repeat that if we can round up. Let's quickly go to Uche, then I will go to Oloma. Uche, please go ahead. Uche, go ahead.
Is it my own Uche?
Yes, please. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, Mindset. Good evening, Mindset. Good evening, Mr. Valentine.
Good evening.
I don't really have a question because there's nothing I want to ask that I don't already know. There's nothing about P2B that I do not know, but I want to re-emphasize something before I leave the space because I have a lot of things that I need to get done. I just want to re-emphasize something, on what Mr. Valentine already answered to somebody who asked a question. I want to re-emphasize that one thing about this election is that, yes, we all know the problems bordering Nigeria right now as a country. Now, anybody can reel out the solutions. It doesn't matter who the person is. Now, this election, I keep repeating it. It is not an election of promises. We should not approach it as an election of promises. We should not approach it as an election of policy documents and this and that. We should approach it as an election of track records. Look at all the candidates. These three candidates, the three frontline candidates at least, have held elected public offices in the past. Look at them, because no matter what solutions anybody rails out, and this is not me taking away from the fact that P2B has stated solutions over and over again to these problems, but nonetheless, no matter what solutions anybody can rail out, the most important thing is who has the political will to get these things done. And in order to answer this question, you need to go back to the time when they held elective public offices, each and every one of them. And like I keep saying, the problems that Nigeria faces today on a broader scale are a mirror, a larger mirror of the problems that P2B met as governor of Anambra State, going from poor security or insecurity to poor infrastructure, to poor education, to poor healthcare. And when you look at the way he rolled out the ANITS program, which mirrored the Millennium Development Goals, and used it to drive development across every single sector simultaneously without leaving anyone behind. Infrastructure, health, pulled people out of poverty, increased human capital index, eliminated multiple, double, triple taxation, and all of that, empowered the people, attracted foreign direct investments, and even diaspora remittances and all of that. These are things that he has done. Insecurity. Anambra was the most insecure state at the time when P2B.
Sorry, Uche, I'm going to quickly interject, please. We have a speaker that we invited, so I think it will be fair to allow people to ask Mr. Val questions so he can respond. We might have another space whereby we can discuss what you're saying right now, if you don't mind, please, because there's a lot of questions coming from Mr. Val, please, if you don't mind.
That's fine. I was rounding up already, but I just want to say thank you, Mr. Val, for everything that you've been doing, for being on this space, and for answering these questions. I yield.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly go to Olomo. Olomo, please go
Hello.
ahead with your question. Olomo, go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Valentine, and I'm glad to have you on board. And thanks for the educating. I mean, I just want to say quickly.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Valentine. Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Sorry, somebody's saying hello. Who's that?
That's Mr. Valentine. Mr. Valentine.
Okay, Mr. Val, can you hear us? Mr. Ozibok, are you still with us?
Hello.
Right. Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Ozibok. We can hear you.
I think his network or something. If his network, he should probably leave the space and rejoin again.
All right, let's see how we can solve this. But any other person can hear me, right?
Yeah,
am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I don't know who have access to Mr. Val. Okay, I think he's having some network issues. So as we're waiting for him to come back, let's quickly go to Olom. I don't know if you will continue with your question.
Yeah, I think
I'll
wait for Mr. Val to come back because I was going to throw a question to him, but yeah, I'll wait for him to come back anyway.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that. Let's quickly go to Afam. Do you have a question for Mr. Val, or you want to make a contribution as we're waiting for him to come back?
Yeah, I have a question. I'll probably just wait. A very important question that just crossed my mind. I'll probably just wait for him to come back.
Okay, so we need to be those who. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Although it's not bad, I was just going to let my point because I was in. So obviously, Peter B was in London yesterday, and I mean, I wasn't happy about a few things that happened from the Labour Party. But like I said, is another question I'll throw to him. I don't know if he's back here because I mean, the organizers I agree with dates, and then some of us again invited the last minute. I didn't understand why that happened. I think it was unfair, But hey, I'd love to ask him a few more questions as well about obviously Peter B and the London trip yesterday. But yeah, when he comes back on board, I'll ask more questions then. But yeah, are you the mic for now?
All right, thank you very much. So we'll wait for him to come back. So is there any other person that would like to contribute as we're waiting for Mr. Val to come back? Any other contribution? Omar Ibrahim, do you have any contribution? Because you're a member of the Labour Party, so you might be able to answer Olomo with what happened transpired in London. I don't know anything about it. But do we have anybody from the Labour Party that would like to answer that question? Okay, so let's quickly go back to Mr. Ifanyika. You're a member of the Labour Party, right?
I think Mr. Val is back.
Is he back? I can't. Okay, sorry. Let me approve him. Yeah, thank you. All right, just apologies. Let's see. Mr. Val, can you hear me? Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Val.
Just I don't know, for some reason I got knocked off, but I wanted to appreciate Uche for his contributions. Seeing is believing. Some of us knew what Anambra was like before P2B and what it did in Anambra, and still left a humongous amount of money that no governor in Nigeria can even think of doing without owing anybody. Still did the things on infrastructure, on education, on healthcare, we became a shining example. And listen to the likes of Ben Bruce, captured this succinctly. The point is, honestly, Nigeria will be totally proud with this man at the helms. Now, my brother made a comment about the London event. I actually don't think some of these things are pre-planned events. I feel that, when we left the US, he headed to London, and he was meant to just take an interview with CNN. And I believe some of what they now try to do, he's here now, let's take advantage of him being here. So chances are that they didn't have enough time to actually plan a proper program. So I don't know the excuse. I'm not making an excuse for anybody, but I want to apologize on their behalf. Please, I know the things can better be managed. So a lot of people have raised concerns and issues around this, but I think we can move on from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Val. So let's quickly go to Ariwa. Ariwa, please go ahead with your question quickly if you can, please.
Thank you, Mindset, for the opportunity. And hello to everyone in the house, in the space, and Mr. Valentine as well. I just have a few questions, I think two of them. There has been lingering issues in the Labour Party as a party, which has been hindering a lot of things like the account opening for the donations and all. So what I'm asking is, if intra-party issues, inter-party issues slide or linger for that long, and they have the possibility of hampering his campaign, and he chooses to ignore them and still go on the diaspora tour, how can we be certain as Nigerians that if we have national issues that needs his attention, he will come down or come back to the country and attend to these pressing issues? And then secondly,
like what issue? Like what issue? Like what issue?
The issue that has been lingering within the Labour Party.
Like what?
We have had issue of interest, but battle of interest within the party, which has hampered.
Which interest? Which interest? Because some of these things are total fluke. That's what I'm asking you. Which interest? Is it the story? The story they put about? Is it the story they put out about Patu Tommy and because that's a total nonsense.
The certainty is there has been sources from within the Labour Party that believes that inform some certain people, which we have happen to have the knowledge that the issue that has been lingering the account opening for the donations precisely and other things is because of the battle of the interest and the conflicts that has been happening within the party and some close associates of his.
Anyway, go ahead with the second question. I'll respond to this.
All right. The second question is, in his diaspora tour, he's all alone without his running mate, which makes it more of a one-man show, because there's a distance in gap. If you look at the popularity between him and his vice, it's actually wide. The range is the difference is clear. So I believe as a joint ticket and as a vice president, they will be working together, and who could fill in his shoes in his absence, I believe he should be in the picture. So don't you think he is making the campaign about himself by embarking on these journeys alone without his running mate? Or is there a reason why he is going on this tour without the person they are sharing a joint ticket with? So this is my questions, and I yield my mic.
My brother, on this second part, I can bet you that if P2B had been on this journey with Dati, he would have had more criticisms. There will be more people saying, are they out of their mind? Who did they leave home for? You know, so why would they not, share responsibility? Why this person is covering this and this person is covering that? What is important is that they are working in synergy. That's what is important. While P2B was busy moving around, I also saw clips and videos of Senator Dati representing P2B in some of the functions locally. Who is he going to leave them for? Of course, where there's a need for them to travel together, they will travel together. Do you even know what it means to have both president and vice president together on one trip? Who even does that? Have you ever seen Buhari and Osinbajo together on a trip? Even Shetima and Tinubu, or even Atiku and Okowa, apart from rallies they do together. What I'm saying to you is that, please, let's not read too much. When opponents use this type of messaging, we should correct them and we should educate them. And when it comes to intra-party issues, my brother, the issues in PDP and APC are legendary. They cannot be resolved in another 20 years. Count us lucky that we have a Labour Party, honestly. And I don't expect that many people will come together and would have an issue. But our own issue is what we call venial sin. The others have mortal sin. So please, indeed, I don't think it's also wise that, okay, Peter Obi should cease from traveling until all the issues in the Labour Party are resolved. Would that make sense to you? I think that, yes, he needs to pay attention as a leader, and I think he's paying attention. And it doesn't have to be local on ground institute for him to be able to solve problem. There are ways we can delegate, and there are ways we can also engage and do the right things. That's what I would say to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So please, let's limit the questions to one question because we are going to round up in the next 30 minutes. So let's bring those. Ifeanyika, please go ahead with your question. Ifeanyika, can you hear me? All right, so he's not here. Enna, can you hear me? Enna,
yes,
can you go ahead?
So John 1:5 says, the light shineth and darkness cannot comprehend. Sir, I have a big suggestion first. You've done foreign diaspora tour, and diaspora means beyond your borders. Our security issues have to do, on a proactive basis, has to do with our borders and lack of intelligence, not actually weapons. Buhari has bought a lot of weapons. So I would advise that you do an African diaspora tour, especially with the countries that border us, because our stolen crude, 400,000 barrels per day, is being transshipped across the West African countries, and our security issues, from the Sahel, is listening. So I would appreciate an African diaspora tour. It would be really, really helpful.
Thank you.
For our security issues.
Very well noted, and I actually agree with you. Thank you.
Okay. Then secondly, you've done a diaspora tour for the West. I'm based in the US, and though we are Nigerians, but our talking points are different. And while you were interacting with Nigerians, the West was listening to your talking points, because we cannot ignore the 4 things that would make you win an election: the macro, micro dynamics, data, money, and momentum. Now I'm talking of the macro. Within this tour, you were with him. Of all the tours that I listened to, I did not hear the global talking points, such as carbon neutral, energy poverty, human rights, minority rights. Osibanjo was in the US some days back. He's doing the debt for climate swap deal. So my big question to you, sir, were there any global talking points in his trip on his diaspora tour? If there were, can you just give us a takeaway from it? Like 2030 carbon neutral, 2030 carbon energy poverty,
and also being equator compliant.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Osibanjo will come back from his trip, and we will hire him when we get into office, so we can implement that under us. Okay, well, let me say this to you. It actually did come up. A few people asked questions around the climate issues, and it's one of the things that Peter Obi emphasized. He didn't go to those places with a ready-made solution to dish them out. Learn, this is how I'm going to fix Nigeria. He also recognized that in some of these cases, that these people have ideas that will help to, synergize and improve on what he has, and then we can all make progress. Astro is our country, it's not his country alone. So he also went to listen. He went to take ideas, listen to people who are in the first world, who understand the importance of some of these things. But we are overwhelmed by manual problems to even think about electronic problems. What am I saying? Hunger is in the air. We are poor. So when somebody is telling you the type of energy to generate, let's even have the energy in the first instance. Let's even produce the food that we need before we start thinking about the constituents of the whether it's full of protein or carbohydrate. Give me the food first. Let me eat the abado and bread first. What I'm saying to you is that while his attention is not gone from this, there was also need to emphasize on the things that are holding us down first. And we also welcome people who are experts in those areas to come with their ideas of what we can do at the same time, because some of these climate things are actually a positive investment that can help us even leapfrog into the developed world quicker than otherwise. So things that are going to help us generate more revenue and still do it in a environmentally friendly manner, we welcome that. But if we have to generate more energy from coal, even though it may not be as clean as gas or hydro, we welcome any form of electricity right now. And so I'm not speaking for P2B, and listening to him, his emphasis is more to see that we get things done, and then of course we pay attention where necessary. But also, more importantly, he was in the diaspora to listen to them. And so if you also have great ideas on what we can do in that regard, we are totally open to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Val. So, Afam, you have another question, so please go ahead with your question.
I have one question. When people talk about diaspora, people think it's just people in the West or Europe, and forget that Africa too, African countries. We have lots of Nigerians in African countries. So against the backdrop of Itunu Babalola's death in prison in Ivory Coast, what would P2B do differently about the plight of many Nigerians wrongly incarcerated in different prisons in Africa? Lots of prisons in Africa. I've been to more than 10, 12 African countries. Nigerians are going through hell in many of these countries. So what would P2B do? Those embassies, the Nigerian embassies in Africa are not doing anything. So what would P2B do differently?
The most important thing he would do, he has said it. My brother, there's nothing like getting your home in order. Nigeria does not have any respect from anybody at this point in time. We are not the big brother we used to be. We're not the one keeping, sending peacekeeping forces, providing support and all that. We are not. Even our brothers in diaspora in the West, they know that until we fix home, they can't walk on the streets with their shoulders held high. When we fix Nigeria and it's working and it becomes the envy of the world and people are queuing up for Nigerian visa and not the other way around, we will gain the respect, and our brothers are in different African, we earn their respect and consider the demand. There's nothing more important than this. Every other thing will be solving the symptoms and not the root cause. Yes, you may want to hear. You want me to say, oh, okay, we will engage their presidents and warn them if they treat our people like this, we'll treat their own people like this. Let's earn the respect, and we can only earn that respect through quality leadership. They do not respect us today. We need them to respect us, and when we do that, they will not mess with our people anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Val. So let's quickly go to Chibe. Chibe, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, actually, Afam and Ina have asked the questions I wanted to ask. But I just wanted to say I hope he's taking his vitamins and everything, because he's doing a lot, traveling and all that. And, we just hope he's taking care of himself health-wise. I don't want to repeat the questions again. But please, I hope he has a health team following him, making sure that everything is okay. And you guys, good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. But I can assure you, he doesn't have a health team following him. But I will remind his wife the need for him to take his vitamins. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the question. Savik, please go ahead with your question. Savik.
Thank you so much, Mr. Val. I'm very happy that you're on this space. I used to know you when we were in Warri together, when you were working, I think it was with which bank, Intercontinental or something like that. So
Continental Trust Bank.
Yeah, Continental Trust, yes. Thank you so much. And again, you've given us some brilliant answers, and I think I appreciate your coming on board to kind of speak to Nigerians. What I'm going to ask was just like what last person mentioned briefly. Today, P2B, we saw Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala posting a picture of P2B having a meeting with her on, how to handle economic recovery for Nigeria, right? And this was somebody that was in London yesterday. I just got him from the US just a couple of days ago. I'm wondering if you could just share with us what motivates P2B, because the level of work ethic we've seen, the high level of engagement, and what actually drives this guy. I want to know what actually kind of what goes through his mind each day he goes to bed, because we've not seen this kind of work rate from our leaders in a long while. So please share something, to Nigerians to tell them what is driving this guy every single day that he goes to bed, because this is tremendous, the kind of work rate we are seeing from him. Thank you.
I can tell you that, I am intrigued by the type of human being P2B is. He is simply an enigma. You need to study him to understand a bit of him. So, nothing else will be driving such a man other than what I can call a grandeur purpose. And that singular purpose is, how do we liberate a black man in this world? When he came out to run for governorship, his message was simple: are we cost or are we the cause? And he ended up with the answer: we are not cost, we are the cause. If we get things right, we will see the result. And he came and we saw the result. My brother, the only way black man, I don't care who is listening to me today, if you are in US and China, the only way you can liberate yourself is Nigeria, which is home to the greatest number of black people in the world. We fix it. And for you to fix Nigeria, there are a few things you need. Quality leadership is number one, as the most important. When you do that, you also need to involve on something else, which I call a culture of continuous improvement, a culture that challenges status quo, where we are saying we can't rest on our oars, even when you are succeeding. And we have done this in a number of sectors. If you look at like banking or telecom, we've almost caught up with the rest of the world in those sectors. But we're yet to do that in civil service, in governance, in public service. When we are able to do it, trust me, magic will happen in Nigeria. So P2B is in a hurry to fix Nigeria and fix the black race and regain the glory that we've lost 500 years ago. I think he is God sent. I think he's inspirational. I think there's nothing he is doing on his, and even in this, he prays every single day. He knows that it's not his own capacity. It's got to be able to be God doing this through him. And that's why he will even tell you he's not the one running for president. It's all of us through him. I have never seen any man who has become so sacrificial in service like P2B. And that is why he left office. Up to today, Anambra State, where I'm in Oka, as I speak to you, I can tell you that the governor in the past, Obiano and Soludo, have never bought him one pure water. When they brought the pension and all that, he did not sign and approve it. So it meant that he didn't come to steal. If he had taken 20 billion out of that 75 billion, nobody would have even blinked an eye, but he didn't. So please, I don't know how else to preach this message so that people understand what is about to happen. And that is why, no matter how much sacrifice you've made, it's not enough. We all need to keep doubling our sacrifice because we must get it right this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Val. So we should be rounding up in the next 20 minutes. So Njenje, please go ahead with your question quickly.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Njenje, we can't hear you. It appears you're having some network problems. All right, since Njenje is not ready, Mr. Umar Sani, please quickly go ahead with your question.
A lot of his opponents.
Okay. Mr. Umar, are you there? Okay, Umar is not ready to speak. So let's quickly go to Modern. Sorry, let me get your name. No, we can't hear you. It appears you're having network issues. Modern day philosophy, please quickly go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Valentine, respect, sir. I remember 2019 when I first heard about you when you were still in Transcorp. Now, my questions are personal. 2020, between 2021, you ran as PDP governorship candidate for the Anambra election. Unfortunately, you didn't win. Sorry about that. My questions are, when Peter B becomes president, he's there. Will he negotiate or maybe form any merger with the PDP in order for him to have his views and his ambitions passed via the House of Assembly? And secondly, since you left politics after the governorship elections, are you in any way thinking of any future ambition, or maybe are you going to run for governorship again? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. On this, your last question, what I tell people is nothing will give me joy than to see, and if you also listen to my Arise interview, you hear me say that. If you listen to my AIT, you also hear me say that. Nothing will give me greater joy than to see Peter B become the next president. And I don't care if I don't ever run for anything or even get any posts. I didn't go into politics because of me. I was never, if it was about me, my brother, I have enjoyed comfort. I was in a place that I can tell you, most people will not abandon. You see, when I told my story at the beginning of this, I made it clear. God has been gracious to me. He took me to where I never imagined I could be. I was the kind of person, when I travel anywhere in the world, they receive me like a king. Even in Abuja, I shake up to 30 presidents every single year. I have seen fame and fortune. I go on Grammys. I take pictures with John Legend, with Sylvester Stallone and co. But I abandoned. At some point, I kept asking myself, is it this? So this what more? Even when I decided I was going to go into politics, all the people that knew me tried to discourage me. Are you out of your mind? I asked them a simple question. And what else is life? If it's about how much money I have on buying private jets, and then I still go home and I face banditry, criminality, and all this, and if I go to your foreign country, you treat me like a criminal until proven otherwise, that is not worth living. So what I'm saying to you is that it's not about me. And that is why I decided, if you have an idea what I sacrificed in PDP, they couldn't believe it, but I had to do it. Because I follow my conscience, I do what is right, and I do what I think makes sense. P2B makes sense. That's why I'm in this. So I don't care whether I run for governorship or otherwise. Let him win and let Nigeria get better. And your first question, I think I may have, remind me, please.
Okay, I said that, okay, let me rephrase. You and Peter B were once in PDP. You ran as a governorship candidate for the PDP. Yes. I'm saying that when Peter B enters in power now, he needs a national assembly.
Now I hear you. Let me respond to you now. So the truth is this. Somebody actually raised this question while we were in the diaspora, because the fear is Labour may not have majority in the Senate and House of Reps, and so difficulty passing the bill. And in fact, good news is that P2B has had tremendous experience. He abandoned PDP and APC when he ran for governorship. In fact, there was not even an APC then. And he took an unknown party, ABGA, and won. Twice, after trying to do the right things, he was impeached. But you know what? He came back. And so what his answer was very simple. You are only worried when you are doing the wrong thing. If we, Nigerians, see a bill that will change our circumstance, and this bill is brought forward to the House, trust me, the type of Nigeria we're going to have under P2B can deal with anybody who decides not to listen. And when I said deal with, legitimately, under the proper, if it means recalling them, they will be scared, because you know what? This is not the case where he is looking for what will benefit him and his family, and not, no. It will be obvious and clear that the bills are for the masses. And trust me, the first thing and foremost is whether he has members in the House or in the Senate, he can get his bill passed, and he will. But let me also tell you what politicians do. the moment he wins this election, I can tell you half of the floor will be right there. Already, some of them are already obedient. Some of them are even making the deals now, saying, you know what? Okay, you know what? In the lounge this afternoon before I boarded from Abuja, some people running for Senate in order, they came to us and said, please, I want to tell you we're obedient. So people, we will support him to be president, but please, you people should not affect our own. So a lot of them are eager to say, you know what, please, we will support you. And what they eventually do will decamp. They will. So anyway, don't worry about that. Let's get him there first. And we'll figure out how to navigate through that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let's quickly go to Franklin. Franklin, quickly, please, ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, myself. I just want to appreciate all what these guys have been doing in the diaspora and all that. But my question is pertaining to the campaign council. And this month campaign is starting. When is he going to set his campaign council? And how is it? What was his strategy in terms of penetrating in the north? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. I believe campaign council will be announced soon, fully. We already know the DG anyway, and some of them are already working hard, but the formal thing will be done. I know a retreat is being planned that will also bring other critical stakeholders to the same room so that things can be better harmonized. I would, even though I know the dates, I would rather not announce such. It shouldn't be coming from me, and that's why I will refrain from saying so going further. And about the strategy to win the North, I honestly feel that the moment the youths are well energized, the moment they continue to do and even extend further what they're doing, they are not going to be asking where you are from. They are hungry enough, they are angry enough to realize what is good and what is bad. I am willing to bet on Nigerians taking the right decision in this election, unlike what has happened in the past. After all, we have never seen the youths like this before. So the youths and many other groups, not just the youths. I was in the room listening to the elders as well. People usually forget that it's not only the youths. I listened to Pahade Banjo of Afenifere. I've listened to Clark of Pandef. I've listened to Dr. Pogu of Middle Belt Forum. I've listened to Dan Suleiman. I've listened to people who are, and they cut across from northeast to north central to south to southwest. Leaders of Nigeria who are tired of the status quo. They are on board. And they are yet to even unleash their energies. I can bet you P2B will win election that will be cast. Our mandate is how to protect that mandate. And this is why I'm excited that we have enough youth, because the people they've always used to rig are the youths. I see a scenario where they'll collect their money and they'll still follow their conscience. And that's the message we keep preaching. And yes, some who can resist the money. Some who cannot collect the money and waka. Let me put it that way. Thank you.
All right, quickly. Let's quickly go to Musa. Musa, please. Out of time, can you quickly go with your ask your question?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am so excited for this privilege. My question towards this very conversation is very simple. Looking at the fact that the dynamic, the situation of Nigeria today, looking at, to me, to my own understanding, what can Peter Obi do for the situation of Nigeria in regards to National Assembly, judiciary, and the executive? Because from my own research, I get to understand that Nigeria can never work with the present system we are using. looking at over 70% of our national budget is going to these three arms of government. Only 20 to 30 left with the general population of Nigeria. I look at it, even if Peter Obi came, this situation can never change because we have a gross saboteurs in this country that are not ready to even understand the language of the common man. So what can Peter Obi do when he comes to change this narrative? Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing I want to assure you, there's nothing about this country that Peter Obi hasn't seen at a smaller level in the state. In the state, there were also state house of assemblies, there were judiciary, he had the chief justice, and all of these people were there when he was impeached the first, second time. And so what I am here to assure you, when you have a leadership that is competent, that is above board, that is present, that is not corrupt, that is intentional, that is passionate, that is committed, you will see the difference across board. There are other things that can be done. Some of these are better not said because there are things you're going to keep saying. You just enable weapons from different opponents. And so I can bet you our challenge has always been getting the right leadership. Everybody will look up to the leadership, to see the body language, see the style, and they will conform because they know the consequence of not conforming. What I can assure you is, just like unfortunately we have in Buhari a president that is not greedy, but unfortunately a president that's not present. You need that presence of mind. You need to pay attention to what, even understand what they're doing. Before they even do anything that is corrupt, you already have met them at the end of the tunnel. You are smarter than them. And that's what we need, somebody who is present, who will ask the right questions, who will, met every single action with the appropriate, response. If somebody else, what is the consequence? If you hear that the Kuje prison was attacked, who has paid the price? If nobody has paid the price, you are condoning evil. There are certain things that can't be tolerated if we have quality leadership. And when people also do the right things, they are rewarded. You will see the difference will be clear day and night. We need competent and present leadership. And that's what Peter B will bring to bear. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Val. We are meant to stop this, finish this space around 9:30, but you've actually given us another 30 minutes to have you on here. So we should be rounding up in the next 4 minutes. Well, before we round up, what is your message to the obedient?